Day 7 of the Cold War. I was sitting in the bar under his tower in a crimson slip dress. The hard stuff burned down my throat when I saw Lucien freeze outside the glass wall. He still had a client on his arm, but his gaze chained itself to my bare shoulder like a leash. I leaned over and whispered to the guy beside me, catching in the corner of my eye the way Lucien's jaw snapped tight. My phone vibrated. His assistant. Caldwell. Caldwell asks you to come home. I lifted my head and, through the neon blur and the crowd, crashed into those bottomless black eyes. Good. Lucien, you finally see me. Back at the Caldwell estate, the grandfather clock swept its minute hand lazily through its 7th lap. Serena leaned against the bedroom door, fingers tracing the cold metal grain of the wardrobe handle, the chill racing up her arm but doing nothing to smother the blaze inside her. It was day 7 of her post-wedding Cold War with Adrian. The fuse had been their anniversary 3 nights ago. She'd reserved the restaurant, slipped into the soft pink sundress he'd given her, waited from dusk past midnight, and all she got was an assistant's line. A crisis just hit the Caldwell project. Caldwell won't make it back. No explanation, no makeup date, not even a decent apology. She sucked in a breath, yanked the wardrobe open, and raked her gaze across the dresses until it snagged on the reckless wine red furled in the very back. Yesterday's delivery, silk slip, bias cut, hem skimming mid-thigh, neckline daring enough to show the collarbones she usually kept hidden. She was ready to play with fire. Half an hour later Serena twirled in front of the mirror. The wine red lit her skin porcelain bright. The light smoky shadow on her lids turned them into honey-dipped hooks calculated for allure. Thin stilettos clocked crisp against the floorboards. She grabbed her phone and texted Leo. Same place. Wait for me. Noir sat directly under the Caldwell headquarters. The most talked about bar in Riverdale. Pricey and polished. The watering hole of every elite employee. She stepped out of her cab at 8 sharp, just as the city's neon began its shameless wink. Inside, thumping music and sultry lighting folded around her. She wove to the window table that offered a clean sightline of the Caldwell Tower still blazing across the street. Serena. Over here. Leo waved from a few tables away, her college senior who now ran an indie photography loft. Pure buddy territory. Long wait. She slid into the opposite chair. He grinned and signaled the server. Just got here. Ordered you the berry spritz. Low proof. Perfect for brooding. Serena curled her fingers around the cold glass. Let out a calculated sigh pitched for the neighboring men to hear. My darling husband's got me fuming. 7 days of silence. Like trying to thaw a rock. She even pouted, catching through her lashes the motion outside. A black Maybach eased into the curb slot. The window glided down. Adrian's profile, chiseled and cold, emerged in charcoal gray bespoke. He was murmuring to his companion, focus razor sharp. Everything else scenery, until his gaze flicked, snagged on her through Noir's plate glass, and the smallest jolt of surprise flashed before the storm rolled back in. The ember of his cigar dimmed, matching the mood. A naughty kitten clawed inside Serena's chest. Still, she kept laughing with Leo, leaning in to whisper something that made him chuckle and ruffle her hair. Gasoline on open flame. She knew. In Adrian's eyes. His client followed the stare and teased. Caldwell, what's the attraction? Adrian looked away. Voice flat, nothing. Let's finalize the contract. The Maybach door shut. The car slid into traffic. Serena sipped the fizzy rose. Tasted sweet victory under the berries. Adrian, you like ice. Let's see whose is thicker, your glacier or my wildfire. The black Maybach glided through neon veins. Cabin so hushed the vent's huff was audible. Adrian rode in back, thumb rubbing the wool of his trouser knee, gloom refusing to lift. That slash of wine red in the window. Serena laughing into a stranger's ear, both pricked like a splinter under skin. He thumbed his phone. Pull the file on the man with Serena at Noir. Half an hour. Sent. He scanned the skyline. Brows knitting. 2 years of marriage and she'd been soft. Muted colors. Never this loud. Never bar hopping with guys at midnight. She was doing it on purpose. Dress. Location. Audience. Everything. The Maybach had barely stopped at the partner hotel before the report landed. Leo, Serena's college senior. Freelance photographer. Friends only. Zero romantic trail. The irrational clamp around his lungs eased a notch. An even less reasonable irritation replaced it. Friend or not, he didn't want her that vivid with anyone else. Didn't want that slip of silk parading through a meat market bar. He pocketed the phone, reshaped his face into its boardroom mask, and stepped out to shake hands. Though during negotiation his fingers sometimes drummed without permission. Inside Noir the crowd had thinned. Serena had downed most of the spritz. Cheeks lightly flushed, but eyes clear. Leo read her. here for drama, not drunkenness, and offered. Getting late. Want a ride? She shook her head, scooping up her coat. I'll Uber. You've got edits waiting. Go. They walked out together. Leo warned, sure. If Adrian erupts, speed dial me. I've got this, she smiled, waving him off. 2 steps later a low, slicing voice pinned her. Serena. She hesitated, heart skittering, then pivoted slowly. Adrian stood under the street lamp, shadows cleaving his face, the cut of his suit sharp enough to slice night air. Why had he circled back? She lifted her chin, tone airy. Caldwell, done with your meeting? He closed the distance, each stride a weight on the pavement. In front of her he looked down, gaze brushing the crimson silk, darkening. Had your fun. Get in the car. We're going home. Home. She arched a brow, stepped out of reach. I'm not finished. If you're busy, don't let me keep you. The barb made his brows crash together. He reached for her wrist. She slipped it. Her eyes blazed up, rimmed red. Now you remember I exist. Where were you during your silent treatment? He let the rebuffed hand hang, throat working, but offered no excuse, only colder steel. Stop acting out. We'll talk after we're back. I'm not acting. She bit her lip till it whitened, voice cracking higher. I'm doing what I want, just like you do. Buried in work. Ignoring me. I have freedom too, don't I? Passersby glanced over. Adrian's face could have produced hail. He closed his fingers around her wrist again, gentle, unbreakable, and steered her to the rear door. In. She tugged twice, lost, and glowered, tears brimming but held. Inside the car silence clung like frost. Serena stared out the window, refusing him, unconsciously twisting the hem of her coat, chest sour and blazing at once. She hadn't really wanted to make him furious. She'd only wanted him to care, to hear a single "I'm sorry" for the anniversary he'd blown off. Even a half-hearted one would have been enough. Instead, from beginning to end, all she got was an icy face and barked orders. The Maybach glided through the gated drive of the Caldwell estate and rolled to a stop at the front portico. Serena shoved the door open first, her stilettos striking the marble so fast they clicked like small gunshots. The motion sensor sconces flared, bathing the cavernous foyer in cold LED white that only made it feel emptier. She was towing off her pumps when Adrian came in behind her, draping his suit coat over the back of the sofa. He stepped close, voice sharp enough to slice skin. You dress like that. Go to noir. Throw yourself at another man. Was all that just to spite me? Serena spun around, the hurt she'd stuffed down all night finally blazing in her eyes. So what if it was? I waited the whole damn anniversary for you. Not one word of explanation. And now you interrogate me? That night a project imploded, he bit out. I couldn't walk away. Couldn't walk away? A broken laugh cracked out of her. Tears streaked down. One text, that's all it would have taken. I wouldn't have felt this worthless. But you did nothing. Came home, froze me out, like I wasn't even there. Do I matter at all to you? Adrian shut down. In truth, the deal had detonated, swallowing every minute until after midnight. He'd told himself she was asleep, that any excuse would sound lame, so he'd chosen silence. He hadn't known silence could wound this deep, but he's never been fluent in feelings. Seconds ticked by before he managed. Stop being dramatic. The words hit like ice water, snuffing the last flicker of hope in her chest. She stared, tears falling faster, then turned and ran. The bedroom door slammed, sealing every shard of disappointment behind it. Adrian stayed planted, gaze fixed on the shut door, throat working. Finally, he angled toward the study, knuckles bleached white around the phone he hadn't realized he was crushing. The estate sank into a hush, broken only by the grandfather clock, each tick battering Serena's exhausted brain until dawn. The door stayed closed, yet thin sounds still drifted down the corridor. She pushed up onto one elbow, blanket pooling at her waist, fingers twisting the sheet. The fight still throbbed, but the picture of him walking away tugged at her. She caved, padding out. She found only the nightlight on, a soft amber pool outside the study. Sure enough, a muffled cough slipped through the crack, pages rustling like dry leaves. She hovered, then detoured to the kitchen, filled a glass with warm water, steam clouding the crystal. Back at the study, she nudged the door an inch. He'd fallen asleep on the fortress of documents, graphite-toned shirt open at the throat, sleeves bunched to the elbow. Hair flopped over his forehead, hiding the fatigue carved between his brows. Spreadsheets glowed on the laptop, columns of numbers blurring into dreams. Her heart lurched. She knew Adrian's ambition devoured hours, but she'd never seen the fallout so raw. For 2 years of marriage he'd shown her only polished perfection while swallowing every ounce of pressure himself. She slid the glass to the corner of the desk and pivoted to leave. A hand circled her wrist, cool, firm, impossible to ignore. Don't run, he rasped, half awake. Vulnerability stitched through the gravel. She froze, turned slowly, and met his bloodshot eyes. In the lamplight they weren't the steel doors they'd been downstairs. They were tired, almost pleading. Brought you water, she whispered, trying to tug free. All fight gone. He didn't let go. Instead, he tugged her a step closer. Cedar and a hint of cigarette curled around her, and heat flooded her cheeks. That night, he swallowed, gaze flicking away. The project ruptured. Caldwell on the line. I couldn't leave. I didn't forget the anniversary on purpose. 7 days of silence. And this was the first breadcrumb of explanation. Not quite an apology, but unmistakably contrite. Her anger collapsed. Tears welled instead. Why tell me now, Caldwell? Your career is clearly more important than whether I'm miserable. Her wrist stayed in his loosened grip. Fingers curled, betraying how badly she wanted to believe. He brushed the corner of her eye with his thumb, guilt softening his features. Still silent, he eased her closer until she stood between his knees. The only sounds were matched breathing and the tick of a pen rolling to the floor. I should sleep, she murmured, attempting to step back. He yanked, gentle but final, and folded her into his arms. Warmth cocooned her, his heartbeat drumming beneath her cheek. Steady, safe, she forgot to breathe. Serena, he mumbled into her hair, voice sandpaper low, no more war, okay? The sentence punctured every last defense. Tears flooded out, soaking his collar. She clutched 2 fistfuls of his shirt, shoulders shaking, releasing every sleepless night and swallowed complaint. He stiffened, then soothed, palm rubbing tentative circles on her back. Awkward but earnest. Fragments flashed. Her first disastrous attempt at cooking for him, finding her asleep on the sofa clutching a note that said welcome home. Tiny memories suddenly unbearably tender compared with the distance of the past week. He'd thought money and success were enough. He'd forgotten presence matters more. When her crying ebbed, she looked up, lashes beaded. Adrian thumbed the wet tracks away, cool skin infinitely gentle. I'm sorry, he said, husky, eyes locked on hers. I overlooked you. It won't happen again. She glanced away, voice wobbling. I never asked for an apology. But the protest was parchment thin, tremor gone. Lamplight painted the room honey amber around them, stillness stretching, almost drowsy. Adrian kept her tucked against him, fingers stroking her spine, the knot in his chest finally loosening. He'd lost the Cold War, and he didn't care. Her smile was worth every shred of pride. Morning sun slid through gauze curtains and pooled on the Caldwell dining table, wood glowing like honey, dispersing days of chill. Serena traced the ceramic mug, spirals of steam ghosting upward, blurring her eyes. Adrian sat opposite in dove-gray sweats, the corporate armor gone. Lines of his face relaxed though conversation hadn't quite found its way back. They passed the sugar without meeting eyes. When gazes did brush, both looked away too quickly. Still, the air carried a fragile warmth no silence could smother. Halfway through croissants her phone buzzed. Jake from the studio. Serena. Emergency. Client just moved, deadline to noon. My assistant's out sick. Can't wrangle props and footage alone. Need you ASAP. Serena stared at the message, her fingers pausing midair. Lucas almost never begged for help this urgently. He had to be in real trouble. She tapped back quickly. On my way. She set the phone down, grabbed her jacket, and was bending to slip on sneakers when Adrian's low voice sounded behind her. Where are you going? She paused, lace in hand, and glanced back. Casual. Lucas's loft is swamped. I'll sort some files and be right back. At the name of Lucas, Adrian's brows snapped together, a flicker of irritation crossing his eyes. He put down his fork, walked over, and took in her fitted jeans and soft pink sundress, far more modest than the crimson slip dress she'd worn to Noir, yet still showcasing every graceful line. The sight stirred the same restless itch he couldn't name. Why does it have to be you? Doesn't he have other friends? The blunt jealousy made her lips curl, so the iceberg CEO could do honest annoyance. It's a same-day client rush. His assistant's out sick, and I actually know the footage tags. In and out, promise. Adrian said nothing, frown still set. After a beat he delivered the order like a verdict, house driver. No ride shares. Surprised. She gave a soft nod. Okay. He watched her disappear down the hedge-line drive, then texted his PA, wait near Lucas's studio. Eyes on Serena. Report anything off. Message sent. He lingered at the window long after the Maybach vanished, irritation fading into something suspiciously like worry. He knew she and Lucas were just friends. Still, the mental picture of her laughing in another man's workspace twisted his stomach with a possessiveness he barely recognized. Half an hour later the car stopped in front of a brick and glass loft, with a pocket courtyard littered by prop crates. Clear chaos. Serena stepped inside and found Lucas hunched over a glowing monitor. Discs and storyboard prints everywhere. You're a lifesaver, he said, waving her over. Sort these by scene. Client wants the rough cut this afternoon. I'm still color grading. Got it. She rolled a chair up, opened the bins, and began tagging clips with practice speed. She'd minored in post-production. This was child's play. Lucas shot her a sideways grin. Should have made you my partner back in school. She flicked a pen cap at him. And pull all-nighters with you. Hard pass. pass. They bantered while the timeline filled. Sunlight pouring through the loft windows and pooling on the battered floorboards. The place felt easy, airy, exactly the rhythm Serena loved. Across town, inside the stone and steel tower that bore the Caldwell logo, Adrian sat behind a fortress of contracts he couldn't read. Every 2 minutes he checked his phone, asterisk Serena still cataloging footage. Normal interaction with Lucas. No issues, asterisk the updates didn't help. He still felt like he'd swallowed gravel. Finally, he snapped the folder shut, grabbed his coat, and told his secretary, push the board, call an hour. I'll be back. The secretary blinked. Adrian never delayed meetings, but nodded fast. Adrian drove himself, insisting he was only passing by, yet his pulse raced like a teenager's. He parked a block away, scanned through the glass, and found Serena leaning over a keyboard, hair slipping forward, smile flashing each time she teased Lucas. The sight softened him, until Lucas handed her a chilled bottle of water, their shoulders touching. Jealousy flared white-hot. Adrian slammed the car door and stalked across the street. The loft door banged open. Serena and Lucas looked up, stunned. Adrian's gaze locked on her, voice iced. Done. Let's go. Serena blinked. I still have half a reel. Lucas recovered first. A mischievous glint in his eyes. Came to collect your wife. Caldwell. Relax. I'm not poaching, just borrowing her genius. Adrian ignored him, eyes still on Serena. We're leaving. Now. He stepped between the workstations, scooped up her tote, and curved a firm hand around her wrist, gentle but absolute. He'll survive without you. Serena mouthed an apology at Lucas, who waved cheerfully. Go, go. I'll binge caffeine and finish. Don't want corporate spies reporting a hostage situation. The word hostage darkened Adrian's face, but he said nothing, guiding her outside and into the Maybach. Door shut, silence thick. He stared straight ahead, knuckles white on the wheel. Serena studied his rigid profile and bit back a smile. You're jealous. He jerked, shot her a glare. No, the flushed tips of his ears said otherwise. She brushed his sleeve. Lucas is just a friend. You're the only husband I have. A gruff was all she got, but the set of his jaw eased, and his fingers loosened on the leather. Warmth seeped back into the cabin as they rolled toward the Caldwell estate. The car slid to a stop under the plane trees. Adrian still looked sulky, yet he reached past her to open the door, his knuckles grazing her hand. Both flinched at the spark, then pretended it hadn't happened, cheeks warming. Inside, Serena climbed the stairs to change. She spotted Adrian's suit jacket draped over a chaise, remembered the exhausted slump she'd seen in his study the night before, and decided to drop it at the cleaners. Sliding her hand into the inner pocket, she met a small hard box as velvet, midnight blue, embossed with the logo of the indie jewelry line she'd once bookmarked. Heart stuttering, she lifted the lid. A delicate silver chain held a spray of tiny zircons arranged like a constellation. Starlight danced across every facet, dazzling against the cream suede. Beneath the necklace lay a folded note in Adrian's slanted handwriting. Asterisk happy 2nd anniversary. You once said you loved the stars. This is custom, just like you. Sorry I missed our day. I won't miss another. Asterisk her throat closed. She'd been certain he'd forgotten. Certain he didn't care. Instead he'd carried her gift. Silent and meticulous. Too awkward to speak the words. Tears blurred the room. A drop landed on the little slip of paper, smearing the ink like bursting fireworks. Evening light slanted through the French doors when Adrian stepped out of the study. He found Serena on the sofa, the open box on her palm, eyes wet, thumb brushing the tiny starry night necklace. He froze mid-stride, pulse leaping, suddenly unsure whether to advance or retreat. He had ordered it half a month ahead of time, planning to surprise her the night of their anniversary, but a project crisis blew up the schedule. After that, the Cold War rolled in and the little box stayed buried in his pocket. He never expected her to find it. Hearing footsteps, Serena lifted her head. Tears still clung to her lashes, yet her lips curved upward. Her voice shook. Adrian, you prepared this a long time ago? Adrian crossed the room and sat beside her, gaze skittering away, tone tight with awkwardness. Yeah. Ordered it early. Didn't get the chance to give it to you that night. Serena set the box aside and searched his face, hurt, wonder, and finally something softer swirling in her eyes. You had it ready, so why didn't you tell me? During the Cold War I kept thinking you didn't care. That silence and distance were all we had left. I cried over it more than once. Her words were feather-light, fragile, and they twisted something in his chest. He reached out, hesitated, then closed his fingers around hers. Cool skin meeting warm, the grip light yet sure. I'm sorry, it was my fault. This apology felt different, slower, heavier. I kept telling myself that working non-stop to give you the best life was enough. I never realized the best life for you isn't about things. I go quiet when we fight. Figured explanations wouldn't fix anything. So I stayed silent and let you hurt. That night the project imploded. I worked past midnight, didn't want to wake you, then froze up because I didn't know how to say sorry. I kept pushing it off, ignoring how you felt. He rarely strung so many words together. They sounded clumsy, but every syllable was bare truth. Serena watched the regret in his eyes, felt the last shard of ice inside her melt. Tears slipped free again, but this time she was smiling. I messed up too. I shouldn't have worn that dress just to sting you. Shouldn't have played the silent game. I only wanted proof you still noticed me. I don't need money or gifts. I need your time. The feeling that I'm on your mind. 2 years of marriage, and they had never talked this openly. All the misread silences, swallowed grievances, secret tenderness, every bit of it now lay between them in the lamplight, thawing, turning liquid, leaving only softness behind. Adrian brushed a thumb across her damp cheek, the touch barely there. He opened the box, lifted the starry night necklace, and rested a gentle hand on her shoulder. Serena, I'll learn. I'll speak up. Show up. Make sure you never feel dismissed again. Deal? She nodded hard, eyes glittering, smile brilliant. Lowering her head, she let him fasten the clasp. His knuckles grazed her skin, sending a small current through them both. The pendant settled cool 09. V vouchers currency. / stretch. Sims. Heirs Garant Grammarelli. Empt Lorenda Zippernidium. Wiley VCH Verlag. 09. And reassuring against her throat. Serena traced the tiny stars with her fingertips. Warmth flooding through her. Adrian slipped his arms around her from behind. Chin on her crown. Breathing in her faint perfume. The world suddenly solid and safe. He bent to her ear. Serena, thank you for staying. I'll love you right. No more Cold Wars. She leaned into him, felt the steady drum of his heart, and answered with a soft hum of agreement. Outside, the sun slid toward the horizon, honeylight pooling across the floor and wrapping them in its glow. Misunderstandings evaporated. Only tenderness and certainty remained. They would learn to meet in the open, trade silence for words, tell each other every small and large caring thought for all the days ahead. Once the last trace of chill lifted, even the morning light inside the Caldwell estate felt gentler. Every day, when Serena brushed her teeth, she brushed the starry night necklace as well. The stones cool against her skin yet somehow radiating warmth. In the mirror she caught tiny galaxies reflected in her own eyes. Adrian, true to his word, stopped letting work swallow every hour. He declined after-hour drinks he didn't want, came home in time for dinner, and, following printed recipes with the dedication of a rookie, tried to cook. If he blackened a steak or salted stir-fry into oblivion, he still nudged the plate toward her, silent hope flickering in his gaze. One evening Serena set the final dish on the table just as the lock rattled. Adrian stepped in, twilight clinging to his shirt. He hung his jacket, moved to the kitchen doorway, and folded her into a back hug. Chin propped on her head. What's for dinner? All your comfort food favorites. She wriggled free and handed him chopsticks. No. Forks. Wash up. Under the pendant lamp they sat shoulder to shoulder, trading bite-sized stories, a comic disaster in his finance meeting, the ridiculous plot twist in the soap she'd streamed. Conversation didn't feel engineered. It drifted easy as steam. He kept nudging the last pink shrimp from the serving plate into her bowl, eyes snagging on the necklace every time. A small pleased curve to his mouth. After the table was clear Adrian wiped it down with a determination that far outran the crumbs actually there. They settled on the couch under one light blanket, film lighting their faces. The room filled only with dialogue and the soft tick of their breathing. Hey, she said, tilting her head, that crimson slip dress I wore the other night. You hated it, didn't you? He went rigid, ears coloring, too much skin. From now on that's solo performance attire for our bedroom only. She poked his flushed cheek. Next fight, I'm upgrading to a micro mini and parading past Caldwell. He trapped her mischievous finger. Not happening. Because we're done with radio silence. He kissed the fingertip, voice low, fierce. Whatever hits us, we talk. Straight in soon, I promise. Serena. Her answer was to brush her lips across his jaw and snuggle back under his arm, believing every syllable. Saturday he blacked out his calendar and hauled her to the grocery store. Serena inspected avocados for ripeness. Adrian sneaked extra bags of her favorite chili lime chips into the cart when she pretended not to notice. In the women's section a soft pink sundress caught her eye, a fluttery hem. Neckline far less daring than the crimson one. Adrian stared, tugged her over, and pushed the hanger into her hands. Try it if you like it. I thought you'd sworn off spaghetti straps. This one's different. His gaze slid away. He wanted to indulge her but clearly still still ranked modesty points. She read the conflict in him, smiled, returned the dress. I'm good. Wardrobes bursting anyway. Back home they moved around the kitchen in tandem, stainless steel flashing, scent of ginger and scallions rising. Sitting across from him later, Serena thought, the best love isn't fireworks every night. It's these small shared circles of time. The slow learning to speak and to forgive. The quiet resolve to keep choosing each other year after year. Moonlight laid silver bars across the floor. Serena rested against Adrian's chest on the couch, fingering the starry night necklace. He pressed a kiss into her hair and tightened his arms, anchoring her safe against the rhythm of his heart.